Wow. All right, do the other one, do the other one.
That was crazy.
Do the other one, do the other one, do the other one.
Crazy.
Oh! Is that seawater? Look at this, dude. This is the most disgusting car I've ever touched. Power steering pump showed up, so it's about time I explain what's going on, because I've been in a bunch of meetings with Cad Chris and Dan from Part Shop Max about what we're gonna do, because the suspension is gonna be designed based off of where the steering rack goes. Pretty much, more or less. Some give, some take, but that's it. So we've come down to the fact that we're definitely not using a C8 power steering rack. Just not gonna happen. And even if it would, if we could get it to work and program it, I don't want to get into that. I have a whole car's worth of development to do. So I'm going to do something that's tried and true that I know will work. And that is use a C6 power steering rack. Yes, I love that thing. It's beefy, it's robust. Wouldn't say it's easy to come by, but I do have a lot of them. And then all the cars will match. So that's good. The location of the C8 rack was right about here, or right here through these tabs. We're going to be doing some cutting, some trimming, and then mounting this rack basically right here, which will be moving it forward, which will be straightening out the tie rod angle. That all helps a lot. So now that I know where that goes, then I can place the power steering pump, which is this freaking thing. Yeah. So that's one thing that's new to me. Electric power steering pump is not something I normally do. I'm a big mechanical pump guy, but seeing as the pump would be all the way in the back and having to run lights forward and back and all that, not into it. Trying to put as much weight forward as possible, obviously. So I've been talking to my buddy Tyson, and he swears this is the answer right here. But basically this is from a 2011, 2013 Jeep Wrangler, that same type of era Durango, like 14, 15 Dodge Durango, and then also a Charger Challenger, like right in that 2011, 2015 era. So there's an abundance of these, which makes them really cheap. I got this one, which was pretty clean, for like $250 on eBay. I got this one because it had the integrated reservoir. They make them with and without the integrated reservoir. And this thing is going to go right here. Boom. I'm gonna mount it to the cross member, because then when you gotta lower the, if you do have to take the cross member down, the rack and the pump will all stay together. All the lines, all of that stuff will just live in one place. I like that. There's plugs here, there's things going on. That's the main power, and then that is some like canned control basically. And that's why my buddy Tyson is just getting these going. It's a control module for these pumps. This is the 3D printed just as a mock-up, so I can figure out where to mount all this, but when they actually launch all this, this will be a nice billet box. He includes all the plugs and the pins and everything for what I have going on, Deutsch connectors for the actual back of the control box, and it makes it so that you can control the assist, which is huge, because a lot of times when you do these electric power steering pumps, you're not in control. They're on max. They're probably either overheating the fluid or not enough assist, so you're having to put 2 or 3 of them on there. Supposedly, this thing does more than enough. I mean, it's for a freaking Durango. That thing's heavy. And I'll be able to control it all through Tyson's hang tight box right here. So I'm very happy for this. When I get the final piece will be when we're actually doing the wiring and whatnot. So we're a little ways down the road, but I'm lucky that I have this so I can mount this, because this is going to be running to, you know, PDM and controlled potentially with the ECU, whatever we want, however we decide that we're going to run it, but we have the options. Oh, and he also has the fittings. Look, see? Because this converts this type of O-ring hold down strange fitting to a -6, makes it even easier. And then this reservoir is just a rubber hose that can go in there, or you can get one of those converters for like turn 1 has them to convert your reservoir to AN. But I'm gonna take this freaking honker of a bracket off. I'm still trying to use the rubber insulation mounts here and get it right there. Let's get to it. This is my plan for mounting the power steering pump. I trimmed off that big old donkey bracket, and it will sit up here. If you look, this plane is pretty much flat to the cross member when this is sitting where it needs to sit. So I drilled a couple of holes. Some of those are the original holes, which I couldn't use because the webbing was not right. You could see some of those holes, like you couldn't get a nut into that one or this one here, something like that. Anyways, I made these little standoffs. It's just a bolt welded to a piece of tube. That will go in here. Got my standoff. It'll go in there and there. And then this will sit right on top of that. And I'll weld that up and I'll do another one over here. Not bad. So I need to measure this and then I'll make another standoff just like that. Got the standoffs in, kind of holding it, looking at it, mocking it up. Fits pretty good. And now the hard part, holding it, positioning it, tacking it. Oh, I gotta clean some paint off this bracket, then I can tack it. Got all the standoffs on this thing welded. I sandblasted it and welded all of the standoffs on. The holes are drilled and circled so that it lines up. And then let's see. Boom. Then the nuts go on the bottom. And you tighten it up and she's done. Time to paint it. I think we moved a lot in that rubber mount. Jesus Christ. Huh. I don't know if I like that. That's how it's meant to be, but gotta think about that. Super excited. A ton of stuff showed up. Hell yeah. All the rear suspension bits. We're using stock arms, which we just hung on here, getting going. But I'm talking rear knuckles that have been machined for caliper brackets, Wilwood calipers, rotors, tons of hardware, upper control arm spacers so we can set the camber on the upper control arm. Look at these caliper brackets. Just look at them. Just look at them. Check out these XRZ calipers from Wilwood. God, one for hand, one for foot. Super lightweight. True motorsports looking caliper there. Rotors, everything. And we're hopping on a FaceTime with Chris because he's gonna do some explaining of what's going on, what goes where we have to notch things for anti-squat adjusters, all of that. So let's hear this freaking FaceTime and see what we gotta do.
Yeah, so did I hear you right? The studs need to be not bottomed out, but to a certain length?
No, you will actually bottom out the
okay,
studs.
Cool.
So the studs have the coarse thread side, and
yep.
then like a non-threaded portion, right? And then the fine thread
yep.
towards the caliper. So, what I did was Wilwood kind of had this design in there where they had a counter bore and then
so sick.
Wilwood came on board with the brake package for the C8, but there are a few things that we need to modify and make to make this full system work. So the rotor hats have too big of a hub-centric bore for the C8 hubs. So what we're gonna do is I designed a reducer ring that goes in here, and it pretty much has, it's not just a simple straight sleeve, it actually has this same chamfered profile in here so that it seats up against this chamfer nicely as well, kind of acts as like a stop. And then on the ID of the ring, it has its own like chamfer relief to clear the fillet at the bottom of the hub here. They're not just like a slip fit in there. I actually heated up one of these hats a little bit and measured how much the diameter grew. And then I designed the ring that's gonna go in there, actually like 6 thou bigger than what this bore is. And we're gonna freeze that ring. So we're gonna have a hot rotor hat, and then we're gonna have a really cold ring. And they're gonna have a little bit of an interference fit with the temperature difference. So when the temperatures normalize, they're gonna be a permanent fit. And now we're going over to the Haas ST25Y lathe. This lathe has a sub spindle, so it can do part transfers, machine one side, that'll come grab it, and then you can come in with the turret and tools on the opposite side and machine any other features there. But we pretty much got something simple here, so we don't have to do any of that. We're just facing off and then cutting the profile of this part, boring out all the material out of the center since it's solid, and then coming in with a part off tool, and then the part will drop off, and then going and putting that in the freezer. And Rob's got all the measuring tools, all the super nice quality Mitutoyo mics and everything, ring gauges for setting that, and then we're literally measuring everything down to the 10th, and yeah, getting that all dialed. There's what one of the finished parts looks like before it goes into the freezer. You can see it has the big backside chamfer there to clear the fillet like we were talking about. So that goes on there, and then there's a tiny bit of slop to it, and that's because once we press this, it's gonna, and the temperatures normalize, the ID is actually gonna shrink because of the amount of pressure that the rotor hat is going to be pressing on the OD of this once it shrinks after being heated up. Now we need to freeze it. So lucky for us, Rob has like a laboratory grade freezer here for their equipment that thing is. So normally I would just put it in the freezer and wait like 45 minutes for this thing to shrink, but this thing will do it in like 15 minutes. So it kind of speeds up the process for us. And then once that's done, we'll take you back over there. We'll heat up the rotor hat and then we'll press that on.
Nice and cold. Oh yeah, look at it. Just dropped right in.
Already went in.
Yep,
Huh?
you don't even need to press it in.
I'll just give it a little
That
tap.
good old tap just to be sure.
So the only differentiating thing is that this caliper mount on the backside is smooth, and
Yeah.
you see this one's not. This one has a notch. The notch is for the speed sensor.
Got it.
We have a good idea of the direction everything needs to go. So we're just starting to put things on things. Cool eccentric lockouts for this. Alec is getting going on assembling the rotors, because obviously two-piece rotor has a hat, has all the hardware. That all needs to get thread lockered and safety wired, which is a lot of them. After that, then yeah, start assembling some hardware into the caliper brackets, and then we can finally start putting the knuckles on the car. Oh, you broke it, dude.
I know, dude. I was trying to get it real
Too taut.
nice and tight, dude.
Too taut. I want to get this completely assembled just so we check all the boxes. I know Chris had all this stuff together beforehand, but it's good to do. Caliper brackets need to be assembled, calipers. Alec painted these hubs. They look freaking amazing. He's gonna get the knuckle. You want to put the hub in that thing first?
Do we have coilovers to go in here?
I just sent them back, so no. Yeah,
I mean, I can still put the hub.
put it on. Gonna get the corners on. But after we get it assembled and check everything out and we're all happy, what I'm actually gonna do is send the arms off to G-Speed, because they do a monoball kit to get rid of all the rubber bushing. Because these are basically in bind the entire time. It doesn't matter. Like they're meant to be stiff, but the arm does not move up and down very nicely at all. It's sticky. It's got some stiction. I'll show you. This arm is on and bolted, and that's all the movement it's got. Other than that, I had to really push hard, and there's a ton of resistance. So I looked it up, and G-Speed makes a monoball kit for C8 all the way around, which is freaking awesome. We're only gonna need the rear upper and the rear lower. So I'm gonna just fit everything up, make sure we're all good so there's no delays, send these off to G-Speed so that they can come back all buttery balls. I got all the radial mount caliper studs and the brackets. They're all gonna get red Loctite and get installed. Should be easy, but Chris was saying that we might need to double nut these to get them to be seated all the way in the caliper. And he did show us some pictures of how deep it needs to be. It went all the way down and just squished out the red Loctite. Coop. Very cool. Hardware for all of the calipers here. And we have written on it 35 mil bolts, 50 mil bolts. So we remember. Before we put the brakes on, we're gonna just double check the axles. This is a like an older style axle from Drive Shaft Shop that they made us that doesn't have the two-piece modular outer. We have those other ones. I'm just waiting for some outers, but I figure we should put this in just so we know, because these are a good spare to have, and then just kind of see what our axle length is, what the suspension looks like through travel, all of that. Can we not dip everything here? You can go in and just lift up and just go underneath.
Yeah, I think I'll just gotta pull one ball joint.
again. Doing the plunge test. Splunge. All the way up. Yeah. Yes.
Pretty good for
Yeah.
here. Will I go this high?
Yep. How's that play? Like that has maybe a quarter.
That's
On that.
less than that.
Has clearance all the way down, all the way up. And that's probably further than it would ever go down or up because we don't have the shocks here to really see what the travel is. So we're kind of like just maxing out the rubber bushings right now. So excited about these. So excited. Look at these. They're so freaking, I love the organic shape of it. It's crazy. Yeah, Wilwood's new XRZ caliper, 4-piston. We're gonna do 4-piston all the way around. It pairs with that very thin, lightweight rotor. So it's a large rotor, but it's really thin and super light. It blows my mind how light it is. Alec and I were just talking about piston size. So the larger pistons go on the handbrake, and you can see right here, 188, 175 piston size. Foot brake, 138, 138. So you can see here, see those smaller pistons on that. And here, larger pistons. Don't know exactly why. It just has to do with like leverage on the handbrake and the master cylinder size needed for the handbrake versus the foot brake versus the front piston size. But yeah, I'm excited to bolt this stuff on. Annie sees these suckers up. First install. I'm real tweaky about Annie sees on a lot of things, especially steel into aluminum.
Let's go on here.
Is that the 50?
Yeah.
50 mil bolts.
This goes here.
Caliper brackets, dude! So this goes this way, right? Yeah.
Remember, I have to look at it all the time. Oh, that goes on so perfectly.
Oh yeah, dude. With that centering ring. Damn.
nice.
And I love that he labeled it too.
Yeah.
Damn. Look at it. Wow. All right, do the other one, do the other one.
That was crazy.
Do the other one, do the other one, do the other one.
Crazy.
Wow.
Damn, that's insane.
Holy moly.
Wow. That's crazy because, you know, with Wilwood calipers on other race cars and stuff, and spacers and all.
Yeah.
Make it line up.
Yeah, they send
Oh
you
my God.
shims to space out that, but I mean, obviously, Chris, when you have it all in CAD, dude. Wow. Those things are so sick. Boom. Wilwood even has their own banjo bolt setup. 2 for you, 2 for me. I like that these calipers are not 8th NPT. I know you can get them in different setups, but it is nice that it's, I think it's 7/16 24. What is it? Oh, 3/8 24. I like that. So then you have your 3/8 24 to a -3. Banjo, crush washers on either side. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Then this sucker will probably run right up there to that quick disconnect. Boom, all the brakes are done. They fit, they're freaking phenomenal. They are so sick. Got some brake lines done. I had that extra brake line, so I'll just get another one of those. Got the quick disconnects all dialed in. Boom. That is so freaking sick. Love it, awesome. Okay, now time to blow it apart, box up the arms, get them out to G-speed. Yeah.